Hello, I'm Dr. Amber Moore and I want to explain to you today how to do your own blood pressure at home. Now, I anticipated with the coronavirus issue that the one problem we would have is knowing what someone's blood pressure is when we're doing a telehealth conference. So there are lots of things as doctors we can glean by simply talking to you or by looking at you over a teleconference, but we cannot know what your blood pressure is. I anticipated this, and so I have sent many of you an SMS 2 or 3 weeks ago to try to obtain a blood pressure machine, and you can either purchase one or you can borrow one from another relative. Often people who are older, your parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, or a neighbour even might have a blood pressure machine that they use to monitor their own blood pressure. If you can borrow one, then it's a good idea to do that for the duration of the next however many weeks. But it's important to know how to do your blood pressure and then to report those measurements to me, either when you have your telehealth consultation or you can ring them into the office. So with the blood pressure machines, there are many and varied, and some of them are much cheaper, some of them are more expensive, but you don't have to spend a whole lot of money on a blood pressure machine. Some you'll get for as cheap as $40, others might be a couple of $100, but they are all actually remarkably accurate. And for our purposes in terms of pregnancy care, as long as we just need to know, most women will be normal, and we just need to know if things look like they're going up so that you can come in to see me. Now with the cuff, the main thing to do is to know how to do your blood pressure at home. So it's ideal to do them at random times, but we don't want you to rush in, sit down and take your blood pressure. What we want you to do is, once you're ready to do your blood pressure at a random time of the day, is just to sit quietly, either at a desk with your back supported or to be sitting up on a bench or on the sofa. But when you want to do your blood pressure, we need your arm, where we do the blood pressure, to be about the same level as your heart. Now, it doesn't particularly matter which arm you do it on, ideally the left, but it doesn't have to be. And most of the cuffs now are semi-rigid so that you can slide your arm in, and also have Velcro so that you can close it over and tighten it up yourself. So it can be a bit awkward to do on your own, but obviously someone else at home might be able to help you. With your sleeves, I've got a very fine shirt on, so you could put it over a very fine item of clothing. But if you've got sleeves and you pull them up, what we don't want to do is get them to be really tight around your arm. So if it's really bunched up and tight at the top, that can artificially make your blood pressure appear higher. So if you've got clothing on, either pull up your sleeve so it's not tight, or just wear a t-shirt or something that you can easily expose. Then slide your arm into the cuff, and what you want to do is have it so that the actual tubing is running down the inside part of your arm, and try to sort of make it firm and sit just above your elbow. Then get the cuff, and if you can, make it a little bit firm. Not too firm, but it should be firm enough to be able to get a couple of fingers in. That's probably a little bit too, not quite firm enough. But with Velcro, you just need to manipulate it a little bit to get around your arm. Then straighten up the cuff so the tubing is on the inside of your arm, and just sit quietly for a moment. And it's important when you're taking the blood pressure to actually not move too much while it's being done. Then simple, press the start stop button and wait for it to build up. Now sometimes you'll get an error if it doesn't actually take the blood pressure properly, in which case you might need to take off and adjust the cuff and then redo the blood pressure. So you let it build up, and the pressure around your arm will increase. It can be quite uncomfortable and unpleasant, but it will go higher than your blood pressure to actually clamp off the artery that's running down your arm. And then the cuff will slowly release and the pressure will come down. And as you're sitting quietly, you'll then get a blood pressure reading. So in this case, my blood pressure is 116/86, which is very good. And my pulse rate is 63. Now, what these measure, and then just take the cuff off. Now, what I want you to do then is to write down these measurements, or take a photo of it, whatever you need to do to remember those measurements. The top level are 116 is what we call the systolic blood pressure, and the 86 is what we call the diastolic blood pressure. Your pulse rate, which some machines or often will take, doesn't need to be recorded, but if that is above 110, you probably should let me know, but in most cases it'll be below 100, but your pulse rate can be a little higher when you're pregnant. The most important measure is your systolic level. So the 116 is important. Traditionally, you might be aware that blood pressures are considered to be 120 over 80, but that really is on the basis of an average sized man, as in like between 70 to 80 kilo. For women, often they run a much lower blood pressure than that. The reason why the top one is more important is that tells me the highest level at which your blood pressure is operating, and it's the marker for hypertension, high blood pressure, and it's also the marker for preeclampsia. So that is actually in the short term the measurement that tells us what your risk is. If your blood pressure is 140 or above, you should repeat it again in 5 to 10 minutes, and if it's again 140, you should let my office know, and certainly repeat it again in 2 or 3 hours. The lower one, or the diastolic blood pressure, is also important, but it's more of a measure that indicates medium to long-term damage on blood vessels, whereas the systolic is more an acute or short-term dangerous one. If your blood pressure at any time systolic, the top level, is 160 or more, you should repeat it within 5 to 10 minutes and then call the office, call the birth suite, or page me to let me know that that level is that high. It might be that you need to come in to get it not only checked again, but it might be that you are developing a condition like preeclampsia, and that needs to be sorted out. So when you've done the measurement, ideally, if I have planned to do a telehealth consultation with you, if you can please write down those levels so that I know. You don't have to do your blood pressure every day, but if you can do it, certainly before your telehealth conference and in the later part of third trimester, if you can perhaps do it, once or twice a week, that would be great. If you have any problems or concerns, let me know, and good luck taking your blood pressures.